Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Anna. I'm a clinical psychology doctoral candidate. On this channel we talk about real life applications to psychology. I hate this intro every single time, but okay, let's get into today's video. This is a highly requested topic and I do already have a video on the psychology of breakups, but I thought I'd do a follow-up focused more specifically on how to level up after a breakup in terms of your mental health. This will likely be part of a series on leveling up your self-esteem, things like body image, self-compassion, and so on. And do let me know in the comments if there's a specific video on leveling up your self-esteem that you want to see. Back to today's topic, there are so many videos out there on glowing up your external self, changing your appearance after a breakup to give you a sense of confidence. There are people who say, I'm leveling up not just on the outside, on the inside too. But then you take a look at their videos and they're literally all about getting lip injections and going on a diet and getting a fake tan. And listen, I don't think there's anything inherently bad with wanting to change your appearance. I often find it very fun to change up my appearance too. The issue is when you focus so entirely just on your outward appearance, it serves like a band-aid. Breakups can be very traumatic to a person's self-esteem, and altering your body to make you feel better about it only provides the most superficial level of confidence. True confidence is internal. It's independent of how you look. Confidence is not, I like myself because I'm hot. Confidence is, I like myself no matter how I look. So this video is going to be about how to glow up your mental health after this breakup in a healthy, sustainable way, how to safely feel your emotions so that you can then move on from this. So here are some tips for leveling up your mental health after a breakup when your self-esteem is in the gutter. Number 1, don't go on an impulsive rampage. Impulsive actions that you might feel the urge to take after a breakup include texting your ex, posting a risky subtweet, dyeing or chopping off your hair, driving like a maniac, going on a bender, going out every night so that you don't have to be alone with your thoughts, hooking up with anyone left and right, saying rash things to the people in your life, eating junk food 5 times a day, taking off on a trip to South Africa. There's an infinite number of possibilities for impulsive behaviors after a breakup. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I have a right to do these things. If I want to go hook up with a stranger or dye my hair green, I can do whatever I want. Yes, of course you do. It's not the specific behavior that's necessarily wrong, unless of course you're putting other people in danger, such as a DUI. It's the avoidance of your suffering that ultimately makes these things maladaptive. So listen, if an old flame messages you the day after your breakup and you want some company, it's not my place to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I only want you to ask yourself, am I avoiding something right now? Is this healthy coping? What are the pros and cons of this? What could be the long-term effects? What are my long-term goals? And does this action get me any closer to them? If you swore up and down that you would never see this person again, and you know that spending the night with them is gonna send you 6 months back, then one night of not feeling lonely actually has some pretty detrimental effects for you long term. But if you just want some company and this isn't something that's gonna throw you off track, then cope however you see fit. The issue is, when you're in a great deal of distress, you overestimate the perceived benefits of an impulsive act. For example, when I got my septum piercing, I was in a really bad headspace. I thought that it would lift my spirits, that it would take away my pain. And you know what? It did, for exactly 1 hour. And then I was back to feeling terrible. Was it worth it? In that case, yes, because I have liked my septum ring for the past 4 years and I didn't experience any negative consequences as a result of it. But don't fall into the trap of believing that an impulsive act is going to cure your distress, because I promise you it's not. So whenever you're making a decision about something that could be perceived as impulsive, ask yourself this: am I sacrificing getting better in order to temporarily feel better? And if you're not sure, it can't hurt to veer on the side of caution. This is a question that we all have to ask ourselves, even outside the realm of breakups. For someone with depression, laying in bed all day might feel better, but it might sacrifice them actually getting up and doing something which will help them get better in the long run. For someone with an ED, choosing not to eat that dessert might feel easier, it might feel better, but choosing to eat it is what will actually help them get better. For someone with agoraphobia who can't leave the house, choosing to stay in might feel better, but it won't help them get better. Ask yourself every step of the way, am I making decisions that help me get better or just ones that make me feel better? That's not to say that you shouldn't push yourself outside your comfort zone. Do rely on friends, go out, do things that make you feel good about yourself, get involved in things, do it in a healthy way. Instead of maybe going out 4 nights a week and getting blackout each time, go to that brunch with your friends, go to that kickboxing class, go to that birthday party and pace yourself. Dress in a way that makes you feel good about yourself, not in a way that's trying to prove something. Follow your intuition. If you want to stay in, stay in. If you want to give out your number to that new guy, do it. If you're not attracted to him, then don't give him your number. Honor your true desires rather than your spur-of-the-moment impulses. Another thing to consider, sometimes when we take these impulsive actions, we think we're winning at a breakup. We dye our hair, we get a new tattoo, get in a relationship with the first person we see, flaunt them on Instagram. But you have to realize that's completely transparent to everyone else. You think you're being slick, that your ex will think you're getting ahead of them. The truth is, most people can see right through that. Your ex could very well be thinking, wow, Jasmine has been unhinged ever since our breakup. I heard she's been partying all over town and bleached her hair so many times that it fell off. So if your end game here is to win the breakup, which it shouldn't be, your end game should be to be your healthiest self, then acting impulsively is still not in your best interests. Number 2, instead of impulsive behaviors, let yourself grieve the relationship. The point of the second stage is to give yourself the time and space to feel your emotions in a safe, controlled environment. Because you know what happens when you don't let yourself feel them? They pop up when you're not prepared. You start missing your ex when you're in class or hungry or tired or busy, and suddenly you don't know what to do with this influx of emotion that you've been avoiding. So some prompts to help you grieve and feel all the feelings, and this is from an ACT worksheet by Russ Harris from 2009. ACT is Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. This isn't a breakup related worksheet, but I think it's helpful to go through to elicit all your feelings of loss so that you can then cope with them and process them. So some of these questions might be, how did you first meet your partner? Aside from looks, what did you find most attractive about them? What personal qualities did you most admire about them? What did you enjoy doing together? What did your partner do that made those times enjoyable? Describe one of the most enjoyable days you've spent together. What do you miss most about the early days of your relationship? What do you see as your partner's greatest strengths, their best personal qualities? And then also write about the tough times, how the good old days went wrong. What were the issues in your relationships? When did you first start to notice problems? What were they? What painful emotions did you experience as a result? And go deeper, past anger. Anger is usually a secondary emotion, one meant to cover up rejection, shame, fear, sadness, loneliness. In what way did your partner suffer? What part did you play in causing their suffering? Acknowledge the ways in which you screwed up, the mistakes you made, the fact that the fault is usually someplace in the middle, with exceptions, of course. So really give yourself the space to grieve this loss because it is a loss. Number 3, as you feel your distress going up, cope positively with those feelings. First, simply just notice what you're feeling and how it's showing up in your body. Name the emotion. Be very specific. Not, I feel bad, but let's say, I feel ashamed of myself. Notice how it manifests in your body, like sweaty palms, heart racing, low energy, pacing, zoning out, nightmares, heavy breathing. Mindfulness of your emotion is the very first step to coping with it. Next, identify your triggers and your go-to way of responding to them. Write down the ABCs, so the activating events, behaviors, and consequences. Reflect on what upset you, and you may have some epiphanies. Oftentimes, we don't even realize what exactly upset us, so we don't know how to fix it. Becoming aware of our triggers is really the very important first step. For example, I was getting upset recently, and my partner pointed it out, and I said, oh yeah, I'm just upset because XYZ. And he said, oh, it's not because of this completely unrelated thing. And I realized that he was right. I had seen something that reminded me of a trigger, and that was actually the reason I was getting sad. And if I didn't even understand why I was upset, how could I fix it? It's so much easier when you're feeling distressed to just sweep it under the rug, but if you force yourself to sit down and reflect on what's going on, you can finally get to the bottom of your feelings. Have a coping plan ready to go. It could be a master list of all the different coping skills you know. It could be a very specific plan that says, when I feel sad, I do X. When I feel angry, I do Y. I do Z coping behavior X amount of times. I go through coping skills 1 to 3, however long it takes for me to feel better. You could also have coping cards, so coping reminders on flashcards, or a coping bag or coping box with different items that can help you cope. So for example, a soft blanket, a bar of chocolate, headphones to play music. I know you don't believe it in the moment, but managing those feelings of distress can be very important. If you avoid the distress now, it'll only punch you in the face later on. But if you push through it, no matter how hard it is, you'll be less anxious once it's done. Number 4, stand by you or your partner's decision to end the relationship. Really hammer in that nail by making a list of the worst times you had with your partner, the times they mistreated you, the worst traits. Just like you made a list of all the good times with them to feel those emotions, have a list of all the bad times. And this one's specific for when you're feeling the urge to reach out to them, or you're starting to miss them, or you feel like doing something destructive. The point is not to forever paint them in a devalued light, but to help you keep things in perspective when those warm feelings inevitably pop up. Of course, ideally, you want to integrate the good and the bad. You want to acknowledge that this is a person who is imperfect, neither saint nor heathen. But until you get to that point, you need to keep in mind why you broke up in the first place and to make sure that things stay that way if that was what you decided. Another way to hammer in the nail of closure is by blocking them and deleting their number from your phone, as well as any past calls or texts that you had with them so that you can still find the number in your phone. And this is kind of tricky if you plan on staying friends, but you can always get their contact information later on when it's not as raw and risky to reach out to them. And honestly, if you feel such a strong impulse to reach out to them in the first place, I don't know how healthy of an idea it is to stay friends right now. A third way to honor the decision to end the relationship when you're starting to want to reach out to them is to make a pros and cons list of what happens if you do, or to follow your train of thought to see what might that end result be if you actually do this. Let's say that you feel the impulse to text your ex, to just talk to them. What are you hoping to get out of it? A moment of warm feelings when they respond, followed by you finding it even harder to move on? A reconciliation? Do you want a reconciliation with someone you decided you're not compatible with, or with someone who decided that they don't want to be with you? What is the end game here? That you will give it another chance with someone who's ambivalent about you? Is that the love story you think you deserve? And really be honest with yourself about your intentions here. Don't fool yourself into thinking, I just want to be friends, or I don't like being on bad terms with anyone. No, be honest about the fact that you're lonely and you miss them and you think this is the easiest way to make yourself feel better. Be honest about the fact that you don't want to be friends, you actually want to get back together with them. No, you wouldn't be a-okay if you found out they were suddenly already seeing someone else. And that proves that you're not trying to be just friends or on good terms. You can bullshit others if you want, but don't bullshit yourself. And number 5, eventually when you're ready, you can integrate a whole realistic picture of this breakup. Know the stages of grief: shock, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance. Acceptance will come last, and even then you might swing back to one of the earlier stages for a while, but when you get to acceptance, you can acknowledge that your ex had both good and bad, that you both played a role in the relationship ending, that you can feel sad about the breakup but also continue with your life. There's a worksheet I found from betterendings.org from 2003 called The Chutes and Love Ladders. And on each step of the ladder, you can write down the name of your ex, or exes if you have multiple. On the right, write down things that you didn't like about them or that relationship. And on the left, write things that you did like and things that you learned. On the next ladder, write down your desires for a potential relationship. On the right, put down what you don't want. On the left, put down what you do want in a relationship. If you're going to start dating again, you need to have at least an image of what you do and don't want. Another strategy is to simply list qualities that you don't want in a potential partner or that you do want, or just to make a list of everything you learned from this relationship. Come to a whole, integrative picture of what happened in the past and what you want for the future. And in that way, you can honor your true values, so that if someone comes around, you already know what you're looking for and what you're not. I know breakups can be really hard, so I'm so sorry if you're watching this because that's what you've gone through right now. I hope it'll get better soon and that these 5 tips gave you some ideas for how to move forward. And I have all the faith that you will heal from this sooner than you think. Have a great week.